is to enhance access to psychosocial services and support. So that includes education, psychological education, personal development, and we focus on caregivers, anybody who is taking care of a person who has a disability, who has a condition, who is elderly. We help these caregivers think about how to take care of themselves as they take care of another person. And that makes the caregiving industry more sustainable. So that is what we do: enhance care, enhance self-care, and access to education. Thank you, Collins.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction, Lindy and Rhoda. Teenage pregnancies have been on the rise since March this year, when schools were closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. And the most saddening story was a report from Machakos County that reported close to 4,000 teenage pregnancies. And many more statistics have shown worrying trends of teenage pregnancies. And let me just begin with Rhoda. Just tell us why are teenage pregnancies on the rise at this time? Is it because the schools are closed, or parents are not playing their role as it is supposed to be?
Thank you, Collins. The shortest answer as to why there are teenage pregnancies is because teenagers are having sex. That's the easiest answer there is. And so the question is,
yes,
why are they having sex? Have they only started having sex? Have they always been having sex? Or are we saying now there is increased sexual activity? Teenagers have always been having sex. Well, not all teenagers all the time, but teenagers have been having sex. But then now there is an increase in the activity of having sex, and there's a cocktail of reasons why that is so. It could be it is because they're not in school. It could be that they are exposed to the opposite gender a lot more currently. It could be they do not have parental control. It could also be that the village has failed. It takes a village to raise a child. So I am very hesitant to say parents. I want to say the village is failing. And it may not be failing necessarily out of negligence. It could also be failing because these are unprecedented times. So what used to work previously is no longer working now, or more is required. So those are some of my reasons why teenage pregnancies are on the rise, because teenagers are having unprotected sex. And while we are talking about pregnancies, we really should also be looking at HIV cases. We should also be looking at hepatitis, gonorrhea, STD cases also on the rise. So I think the bigger question, even as we talk about teenage pregnancy, is unprotected teenage sex. Thank you, Colin.
All right, thank you very much, Rhoda. Yes. Okay, teenage pregnancies are happening because teenagers are having sex. That's a very simple answer. It may sound simple, but it's a bit, yeah. Let me go to Lily. I think this was supposed to be the first question to ask. Who is a teenager?
Oh, Collins, that's a very nice question.
Yeah.
Teenagers are individuals that are between the age of 13 and 19. But according to the law, any child or any person who's below the age of 18 is deemed to be a minor. So therefore, the greater majority of teenagers fall under the adult age. They are still considered to be minors.
Now let me ask you, what's the role of we've had when these cases happen, for example, and we've had so many cases involving minors and probably or their parents or elderly people, like a bit people who are above 18 years, and it and recently also a report was released by it's called the Violence Against Children report, released by the Department of Children Services, and it also revealed that some of these violations happen amongst children and children.
Mhm.
So or teenagers and teenagers, yeah, a
Yes,
teenager and a teenager.
yes.
In this case, when such cases are presented to court, how do you handle a case where a teenager probably impregnated a fellow teenager? Because I think the law has been more strong on probably a person who is like above 18 years impregnating a teenager.
That's true, Collins, that the law has been very hard on adults impregnating minors. Um, and that's because of the legal implications or the implications of adults having sex or sexual activity with children. And according to the law, according to the Sexual Offences Act, a child cannot give consent. Any minor, any individual who's below the age of 18 cannot give consent to any form of sexual activity. It's interesting that you brought this up because for a while now, for a number of years now, we have been grappling with such kind of cases with regards to minors um, impregnating or having sex with each other, and as a result, pregnancy occurs. We call those cases Romeo and Juliet cases because they have been they're very unique cases that are coming up. I remember there's one time that I was in court and we were representing the complainant, who was a girl, and the parents of the boy, who's the alleged perpetrator, asked why are they the ones who are being prosecuted, yet even the boy himself is a minor and cannot give consent for any form of sexual activity. And that brought about a lot of discussions. We have been having a lot of discussions to do with, so what happens, because now you're handling two children at the same time. It's no longer an adult and a child, but now it's two children. And therefore, because of that, neither of them can actually give consent to have sex. So what happens? Well, currently there's a very, very, there's a lot of discussion going on around this. And one word that has been used a lot in the child protection industry right now is the word diversion. And there are diversion guidelines that are there. And what I mean by diversion, let me just describe what diversion is. Diversion is attempting is whereby when a case involves two minors, the stakeholders and legal practitioners or all other practitioners who are coming in to assist the children in those cases, they try and divert the case away from court. Why? Because court can be very aggressive and abrasive towards anybody. Now imagine how much more so for children. And in this particular case, because now there are two minors who have both, for lack of a better word, defiled each other. So who exactly, if you're going to take the boy if you're going to prosecute the boy, then you might as well also prosecute the girl, because it was a mutual act, if I may put it like that. Therefore, what happens whenever these cases come about in court? We do our best to apply diversion tactics. Diversion tactics can include ways like we bring in the children officer, we bring in the parents of the children or the guardians, we bring in even legal practitioners and prosecutors, and we try and look for another way in which the children can be offered guidance. And this is very important because, even as Rhoda has said, the whole aspect around relations it revolves around what kind of guidance have they received. Are they aware that actually having sex when they are minors is actually not allowed? Legally, it's not allowed. Do they know that there are various forms of sexual activity? Do they even know that at that point when they're having sex, both of them are actually breaking the law? Many people don't think that. They just think, we're having fun. Everyone does it. Therefore, nothing's going to happen until somebody gets pregnant, until somebody contracts a disease, until something very, you know, morally not right happens. Therefore, the long and short of it, the diversion guidelines are there to assist the children when it comes to two minors who are engaging in sexual activity and have fallen pregnant, or the girl has fallen pregnant, rather.
Right, right. Thank you, Ndindi, for that elaborate explanation. Let me move to Rhoda. At what point do these children begin to know to know sex and start feeling the need to have sex? And what should parents do at that point?
Right. Thank you, Collins. Starting on the tail end of your question, I think it would be
Yeah.
fantastic if there was a banner that said she has started thinking about sex, or he has started thinking about sex, all the plans that you had laid down to stop or to educate or to whatever happened. I wish, and I'm sure I speak for many, many parents, me being one of them. I wish there was a thing that people saw and knew that it was time to initiate blockage, caution, whatever, to stop teenagers from having sex. Unfortunately, there really isn't. There really isn't just the one thing that you look out for. Children develop an interest in their sexual organs tangu kitambo. But once they start to realize the things that they can do with their sexual organs, now that is a different thing. And it used to be age 13 going upwards. It then dropped to age 9. And now it's even going coming further down, coming from real life experiences where, I met a parent who was very concerned because her 5-year-old son was being tutored by a 6-year-old neighborhood boy on what to do with his penis and where to take it in case he met a girl. So the age of sexual knowledge is declining. It's on the slippery slope going down. And with everything that is going on, again, let us just come back to the season we are in, the times we are living in right now, where we can blame the internet, we can blame the television, we can blame magazines, we can blame girls in short dresses, we can blame drugs and alcohol, we can blame all of those things and then heighten it, because now there's also confusion to it, confusion brought about by the pandemic. So if we say parents are the primary guardians of children and they need to be vigilant, but then this parent also needs to wake up early and go to work or go to hustle, right? And leave the children at home. So the children at home at this point, they need to be in class. But Ministry of Education and the government, the dates are changing back and forth. And some people have internet, some people don't have internet. Hata kusoma wanasoma nini, all of that comes into play. Then children need to socialize. And whereas when they were in school, a lot of the socialization happened under a controlled setting. And now those controls are fluid because they go to the neighbor's house to study together all day. All the neighbors come all day. Unless you're going to say that parents need to be hawk-eyed and just be right on top of the children and their work, kids talk, kids suggest things, kids draw, kids are curious. There are triggers in the environment, the ones that I have mentioned, the telly, the internet, videos everywhere, conversations, some of us are, we've never really been this exposed to our kids, or our kids exposed to us in this manner, where you are waking up and walking around in a night dress. But then sasa utakosa kuvaa night dress jamaneni, or you need to walk to the bathroom, or they are exposed to triggers in the environment that were not there before. And finally, what I want to just highlight, and this is the sad part of it, is what we call traumatic sexualization, where there are cousins in the house, older brothers, adults in the house who are able to say, na mwili yako siku hizi, you know, there are conversations happening in bedrooms that don't have a boundary, a strong, the wall is not triple thick, you know, and so you can hear conversations, you can hear activities. There's traumatic sexualization, there's sexual harassment happening in the community, in our houses. It is happening when someone says, here, let me fix that dress for you. And then they touch a girl inappropriately. Boys who are, walking around sexually charged. Because again, think about it, Collins. You're eating food and you're staying in the house because you can't go play. And you're not engaged in the active sport that you were engaged in before. Schools used to go for, school festivals, sports, all of that. And there was activity and the energy was consumed somehow. So now there's no, swimming pools are closed, football fields are closed. So where all these very well-fed people, human beings, what do they do with this energy? And then they've been left in the house all day. Or they're just in the compound around your area all day. And it devil's workshop happens. The devil's workshop happens. And so there's curiosity, there are triggers, there's traumatic sexualization. There are adults who, in their frustration or twisted minds, then reach out for the young girls. And, if you're a person in authority, because we have been taught as Africans, ita huyu uncle, ita huyu baba. What they tell you, listen to them, right? So when they tell you, come and make my bed, what's the girl to do? When the girl's livelihood is linked to peaceful coexistence in this house, and peace comes by, you making the bed, and I am using that in quotes, then what is this girl to do? If she's going to receive treats that should really not be treats, something like sanitary towels, something like oil, right? Based on endo katandike kitanda, then what is this girl to do? And so a lot is happening in the confines of these houses, and these houses are not safe. They're not as safe as they used to be. The neighbors are not looking on to each other to find out, what's going on there? Girls are not sitting together with girls to get mawaidha from the elder ladies. Young men are not being trained on life skills by the older men. And it is just, we are in a messy situation right now, brought about by so many things, a cocktail of things. Hope I've answered your question, Collins.
Collins, if you'll allow me to chime in a little bit there. Rhoda has just raised up a few things that are very close to our hearts, especially with regards to the season that we are in right now. One thing that Rhoda has mentioned is about the activities that are going on around the house, the activities that are going on around what we previously perceived to be safe places. I was recently, I got into a conversation recently about what have we allowed ourselves and our children, how are we raised up? First of all, I don't know how many of us were actually told about what sex is actually, or we were just told, enda shule, utaambiwa huko, home science, or whichever subject that was being taught about reproductive health and all that. And I find myself having conversations with my daughter, and I'm like, wait, yes, I am supposed to have that conversation with her before she goes out there and finds out that information from out there. But previously, or even right now, how many parents are actually engaging their children, telling them, okay, this is what sex is. In fact, calling it by its name. Sio tabia mbaya. Sio nitakuua if I find you kufanya tabia. Calling it for what it is. Sitting down to explain to their children exactly what sex is and the repercussions of sex. Why do we tell teenagers not to have sex? Why? Why not? If adults are doing it, why are we not allowing children to do it? If it's something nice, if it's something bad, then why are the adults doing it? And why I needed to chime in into this is because when we end up having cases in court, at times we have a lot of trouble whenever the minors are coming in to testify, because even they do not know what to call their body parts. There's so much shame and secrecy around the body, around what happens at home. And because of that, even when things happen at home, the children are unable to come and talk about it. Because a sexual act doesn't start, it does sometimes start from the actual act of penetration. But believe it or not, the cases that actually happen at home start from you sitting on somebody's lap. If you're a girl, if you're a boy, having a girl sit on your lap, touching, petting, kissing, and we have now categorized sex to just simply mean penetration. But sex starts from way before. Such that pretend now we're getting to court and you're trying to prompt the survivor to actually talk about. She's like, at times they can't talk. They don't know what to call the private parts of a girl or the private parts of a boy, because there's so much secrecy around it. And that secrecy is destroying us. That lack of talking about it could actually be one of the key reasons why there is, and it's not just right now during the pandemic, it has been going on for a number of years. Teenage pregnancies are on the rise because we are hush hush about sexuality, about our body parts, about what we allow, about what don't we allow, and about our perceptions in the society. Yes.
Right. Thank you so much, Ndindi, for that contribution. Let me go back to Rhoda. Rhoda, Ndindi has mentioned something here interesting about telling children about sex. And now I'm wondering, there is probably a parent out there who is even wondering, now, at what age do I start telling my daughter or my child about sex?
That's a very good question, Collins. And I also picked what Dindi was saying about, shrouded in secrecy, and we don't talk about sexuality as a whole, the entire unit of sexuality, not just having sex. Because when we look at just the one act of penetration, then it's difficult to talk about it because context, imetoka wapi? Why are we talking about penetration now suddenly in like 5 minutes or 5 sentences? That's it. That's the entire conversation, and everyone is awkward and everyone is embarrassed about it. Create context, I would say to parents. Create the context. And this is how to create context. Start from as early on as you can. Start from as early on as you can, from age 5, for example, from when you can start having any type of conversation on how things work with kids, then you can start creating context to have a conversation about sexuality. One of the things that I would say has worked for me is use everyday things that are in your environment, right? By age 3, talk to the child about washing their underwear, right? Them washing their underwear and how to wash the underwear and why the underwear needs to be clean, because now you've created space to talk about the private parts, right? And what goes in and what goes out. You can get sick. There's going to be need for treatment, blah blah blah. You need to take care of every part of your body, including your private parts. And this is what they are called. Oh, what happens over there, mommy? And the conversation starts. You've already created a space for a safe conversation. Later on, then you can, because especially that thing about washing underwear lasts a while. They'll not wash it correctly. They will lie about it. They will hide their underwear. They'll just be mischievous about it. But if you stick to it, then you have room to talk about it. Sit down and watch television with the kids. If your kids are into television, sit and watch with them. Look at what they are watching, not so that you can shoot it down or call it evil, but anything can be used as an instrument of education if you use it wisely. So that then now you're having conversations about um, if you're on Nickelodeon and a child is angry and they banged the door, right, at the parent, have a conversation about banging of the door. Have a conversation about whatever is on telly, because eventually what is currently happening in on our television screens is that there is kissing, there is boys and girls, there are boyfriends and girlfriends, there are crushes, they're coming up in all of these programs, and that creates space for you if you sit and watch with them. Then you can start talking about what is a crush, why is it called a crush, have you crushed on anybody, what is that even Kenyan, is it African, is it whatever, and you just have a conversation flowing. And when you start having all of these conversations from back in the day, it is not a sudden onset. It's not something you suddenly came up and said, today we are going to talk about the rocks. And you start talking about rocks. No, because then it's going to be very, very awkward. But use the everyday things. When you walk with a child to the bus stop and someone is inappropriately dressed, according to you, discuss inappropriate dressing at the bus stop. Listen to what they think. Utaambiwa, oh mom, you're shady, ama daddy, you don't know trends nowadays. But then talk about how to dress and how all of that. Talk about consent, which is something that Dindi triggered in her response. Talk about consent. A friend was we were discussing with a friend the other day, and he was saying, us men were never taught how to ask for consent. We were taught that you buy girls things, and when you buy girls things, girls should respond a certain way, right? And so they've never discussed consent. You just no go buy drinks. They were just told, Mr. Rimbili Tatu, and then the girl should giggle, and once they giggle, that's it. It's happened. Equally, girls are not taught how to have boundaries in a manner like that, right? So I know we have laughed with Dindi on various occasions about how sometimes a girl will just say, come make chapatis. And the girl goes to make, she really alibeba unga and an apron. She had gone to make chapatis, you know? And then turns out she is the chapati, you know? And she doesn't know how to say, oh no, 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 no. I had come with this unga, and if this is not the chapati you wanted, I'm not interested in it. Because the guy says, but I bought you this and I bought you the other, and now you're here. Now what do I do? You know, and teenagers are also picking these lines. Now what do I do? And so it's like the burden is on the girl, because if she doesn't, what, she's going to not have a friend, she's going to be embarrassed, she's going to be, I'm going to tell everyone you came over anyway. And there are all these threats, and the girls do not know how to stand up and have an answer, a response to that. But if all of these conversations can be had within our environment, because the environment is full of trigger questions, of trigger situations, right? And if as parents we allowed ourselves to think as sexuality and sex as not an evil thing, and put it across as, you're not ready for it at this time because of XYZ, you know, then it's not a taboo subject that needs to be unmasked. And I really liked how Mtoto News put this webinar today to talk about unmasking, you know, because we are being forced by life to put things on the table and look at them. How do they work? How did we get into this mess? How do we get out? It is definitely not by a reaction. A reaction is the one that you say you're grounded, you're never talking to that boy again, you're never talking to that girl again, you're never doing ABC, in fact, endo shago. But then, even in shags, there are boys and there are girls, and your body has already been excited, your body has already been awakened, its sexuality has already been awakened. So, if we are able as parents to allow ourselves to grow, then we will probably be able to talk about sexuality in a unstigmatized manner. We'll be able to work with our children, to coach them, to mentor them, to grow them, so that then they know a time and a place will come, and that these things really, there's a dignified way of having sex, and it is not in the car lot or whatever. There's a dignified way of having a sexual relationship, and at what age that happens, and why, what will have happened at that age, that I think that will help a lot.
Wow. Right. Wow. That's amazing. Let me go back to Ndindi. Okay. What is this consent that we are talking about? And I want to know something here. What is probably an offense? Is it when there is penetration, or when there is also any act of sex, or romance, or just touching according to the law?
Collins, consent
Yes.
is at the very heart of sexual activity.
Wait, Dindi, I'm smiling because I know where this subject of consent is coming from for you. It's very close. It's very close to her.
I am actually, Collins, I'm actually holding back, rather knowing how consent is everything. Because the moment you take away, the moment you force yourself on anyone, female or male, you're taking away that power that they have. It's like you're saying, you know what, you have no say. You cannot say yes or no. The whole issue around consent is at the very heart, at the very core of why in the Sexual Offences Act, defilement has a very, very steep penalties. Consent is whereby male or female, a girl or a boy agrees to have sex. Now, the law is very clear on this, that a minor does not have the capacity to consent to sexual activity. Why? Because the law comes in to say, listen, for as long as you're a child, for as long as you're under 18, you're still developing, you're still growing, you're still getting to know your body and your capabilities, what exactly you're able to do. If children were allowed to give consent, then we know they would be driving cars and doing everything that adults do. But the law comes in to protect, to shield the child from so many atrocities. And because of that, the law says that a child is not yet capable of giving consent until they turn 18. Until they turn 18, that's when they are able to actually have the mental capabilities to actually not only, in fact, we say in law that you not only have the mental capability to accept, but you also understand the consequences of it. Children are deemed not to have attained that level of development to understand fully and to reconcile themselves, reconcile themselves with the consequences of something as big as sexual activity. And that is why children, according to the Sexual Offences Act, according to the laws in Kenya, do not have capacity to consent to sexual activity. And that is at the very heart of it. One thing that we're always grappling with in court is, so like you've asked, what is the sexual act? Is it the penetration? Is it the touching? Is it the kissing? According to the Sexual Offences Act, it is all that has led to the penetration. Let us define what sex is. Sex is not only penetration. Sex is the kissing, the touching, the removing of clothes, the petting, the sexting. That is also a form of sex. There's a lot of online sexual transmission happening. A lot of it. People are like, but I'm not Missy Jamshika. Mimi, I didn't even participate. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You sent a picture of your body part. yes, that is sexual activity. You talked about a sexual
But
sexual
Debbie,
act, that is sexual activity. Mm-hmm.
but do people understand that this is a sexual activity, or there is more that we need to do in terms of informing and creating awareness on this?
Collins, I was just about to get to that. That this topic is very, very, for me, Rhoda has talked about the fact that children are we that children have been conditioned in certain ways. That conditioning actually forms a perception in our minds. Why do we, at times, have you ever been in a group of people, friends, you're hanging out, you're chilling, and then somebody does something, a girl is like, I don't know what to eat, I don't know that I want chicken, in fact, let me just have nyama or something, and then somebody makes a statement like, girls will just be girls, eh? Her yes means yes, her no means no, her yes means no, her no means yes. Wanawake hawajuangi venye wanataka. What have we just communicated there, Collins? How many times are we in court? Are we in a counseling session? Are we in the midst of friends and relatives, and somebody mentions a statement? A statement comes from a perception. A perception is something that I've actually believed. I believe that girls cannot give consent. I believe that when I buy one drink for 200 bob, that girl should just, we're sealing the deal. That when I have a girl in a room, how? What do you mean that you're saying no? You yourself, you have come to my house walking. You brought yourself. I didn't force you. I did not force you. The whole aspect about consent, at what point violations start? That is where the question is. And to me and to the law, a violation starts and begins the moment the girl utters the word no. It doesn't matter whether you have bought her the whole of Kenya breweries. It doesn't matter if you have, if she's standing right there, stark naked. The moment she utters the word no, and I'm talking about adults because children just cannot give consent, then anything from then on is a violation. And let me just stress this, especially for the girls. One, because I am a girl, and number two, because it more often than not happens to the girls. It also happens to the boys. We accept it. The issues of sodomy are actually growing, but then the larger number has happened to the girls. Let me speak to the girls and just say that you have the power to say no at whatever stage, whichever stage it is in. But anybody guilt you into thinking, si nimekununulia drink, na hata nikakutumia fare. Na hata that is manipulation of the highest order. Your body, that girl's body is sacred. The moment a girl says or a boy says no to either petting, touching, kissing, anything after that, anything at all, anything is even just a picture itself is a violation. And the law has come in to protect the children. In the Sexual Offences Act, it's very, very clear from Section 8 all the way that anything from pornographic material
The technology is not doing good right now. But
online
she's,
is adults and the boys. Sorry, am I back?
yes, you're back.
Okay, that's all I was saying. That
Yes, you're back.
the girls and boys and all of us need to understand that all those acts of sexual activity to a minor, all that is an offense according to the law.
Well, all right. Thank you. All those acts is an offense according to the law. So let me go back to Rhoda and ask the same question, because most minors or most girls or ladies don't know how to say probably there is a miscommunication when you don't know how maybe what their no is or their yes is. Tell us, Rhoda, how are you supposed to say no or yes in a way that it sends a clear message to the person who wants to commit an act of an offense?
All right. Thank you, Collins. I was laughing a little bit there because um, I was just thinking about short answer. When I say no, it means no. That's the short answer. When I say yes, that's what I mean. But the fact that we have to address that question means that there are other things at play here and not just communication. Because if you ask me, if I came to your house and you asked me, will you have tea? And I said, no, thank you, then that's enough. There's no for, but here is the tea. If I say, no, thank you, I don't take milk, or no, thank you, I don't take sugar, or I don't take uh, majani chai, but I can have drinking chocolate, then that is clear. So where is the miscommunication, or where is the distortion in communication when it comes to sex? Why do people feel that no, she wasn't quite clear when she said no the first 7 times? She wasn't clear, but Amma, what she couldn't possibly have meant no, and yet she was in my house. So it comes back to perceptions. It comes back to the difference between what is said and what is heard, the distortions hapo katikati, what you say and what I hear, right? And the burden, the responsibility of interpreting what has been said really should not be on the sayer alone. That again, let me still use the cup of tea. I came to your house. Then there was a question about, will you have tea? And I said, no. You went to the kitchen, you boiled the tea, you came back with it because, she said no when she was smiling. No, there's another agenda there. There's another agenda there, and it is a very selfish agenda. It's a very selfish agenda, right? And whether it is a boy, just like Dindi has said, whether it's a boy or a girl, a no means no, and a no should be given enough respect and standing in society for it to have meaning across the board, from a cup of tea to sexual activity. Now, but in the event that there is another agenda going on, perhaps sexual harassment, perhaps taking advantage of a situation, right? Then the no will not be heard. The no will not be heard. And now that I have mentioned sexual harassment that is happening, has been happening in workplaces, has been happening in schools, has been happening at home, but now we are confined to our homes a lot more. Sexual harassment is 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 a process where the perpetrator weakens weakens the removes the power of the survivor, pole 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 pole, until they get to what it is they are getting to, right? And I want to say to anybody, boy or girl, who is in a situation where you're being touched inappropriately, where there are innuendos to messages, to communication, right? There are insinuations, threats in there. Let another person know. Let another person know. If you can't talk to your parent, you can talk to an auntie and uncle. You can talk to a pastor. You can talk to well, the teachers are largely out of the circle right now at home. But you can actually walk to a clinic. You can walk to a police station. You can just let another adult know. You can call Childline 116. You can call and you can say, I feel that I am in danger because this has been happening in this manner, and naona akikuja zaidi, because perpetrators get bolder every time. One day they touch your shoulder, next day their hand goes down to your back, it goes further down, it goes, past your hips. It they get bolder with each attempt, until finally it will be turned on the survivor and they will be told, you never said no. You never said no, so surely you welcomed all of this, right? So make sure you tell someone. Or if there are other people, create witnesses by saying out loud, spendi ukinishika hivo, spendi mkono yako ikipita hivyo. Create an audience, create a witness. It can be very, very scary, very, very scary, right? But just you do it, because it may be what gets you out of that situation. Create an audience, get witnesses, tell somebody else, tell them even on text, tell them. And the problem with sexual harassment is that so many times all these abusers will make it sound like if anything goes wrong, it is your fault. If there is, if mom comes home angry, if there's no food in the house, if there's yelling or arguments, it's your fault because you exposed your uncle or exposed your cousin or exposed the house help, or you exposed whatever it is you exposed. Wacha iexposiwe, save yourself. Wacha iexposiwe, I say to the young people, save yourself. Because at the end of this whole horrible experience, you have to live with yourself. So wacha iexposiwe, let people know. Shout it out loud. Toka hapo nje kwa plot. Kataa kurudi kwa nyumba. Create trouble. It is okay to create trouble to save yourself. Thank you, Dindi.
Collins, unmute.
You're on mute, Collins.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. It's okay to create trouble to save yourself. That is what Rhoda has ended with. Let me ask you. Rhoda, most of these victims maybe find themselves in these situations mostly because of maybe material things, or maybe they are not able to buy pads and all that, and it's very tempting for them because they don't have another option. What can probably girls do when they find themselves in this situation, when they need maybe financial support and all that?
Sorry, I'm not sure I quite understood your question. What should girls do if they found?
Probably yes. Because most of these perpetrators use maybe money and all that to try and lure these girls into using them. What should maybe girls do when they find themselves in these situations of someone trying to defile them, or someone trying um, to lure them into a sexual act because of that material, maybe money and all that?
All right. Thank you, Collins. You're right. Need can take people to places they had not intended to be. Um, the need for sanitary pads, the need to feel like you belong, the need to look to have new clothes, or to have some oil, or to have some money to buy food, can take people to places that they had not intended to find themselves. When the girl went to talk to the cousin or to the bigger brother or to the friend, and they were told, well, come and get the money from my house, come, go to my bedroom and pick the money, it's right there on top of the table, etc. There are many things, well, not many things, there are several things a girl can do. One, for and not just girls, even boys as well. One, if you find that it is on you as a child to supply for yourself life's basic needs, then again, Childline is there not just for sexual offenses. adults, trustworthy adults, are there not just for sexual offenses. If you find that you need to find food for yourself because otherwise, and that the only avenue available is that house where that man lives or that woman lives, then, and we all, I think as a starting point, all of us are have an internal mechanism that says, just raises some doubt about a certain interaction. And you either quiet it because of the need that you have, or, over time, you've learned to quiet that voice, but it is normally there. Now, to all children, if you find yourself in a situation that you are dependent on someone who looks that you do not feel right with that person, you don't feel right with that person, there are about 7 billion other human beings on planet Earth. Think outside of that situation. It does not have to be that way. I know there are many people who walk around, peers even, who say this is the only way. No, dare to think that there is another way. Dare to think that there is another way. A lot of churches have charities. A lot of churches are giving donations. A lot of supermarkets are giving donations. A lot of corporates are giving donations. Walk in and ask to talk to the manager of a supermarket and say, here's my situation, blah, 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 blah. There are so many other avenues apart from this one person who may have painted themselves as the only provider for the needs in your life. No, 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 there are other providers. There are NGOs, there are charitable homes, there are so many other avenues. Now, on the other hand, maybe you are just someone has insinuated something to you, kuja nikuoneshe, let's go somewhere in private. That is a red flag. Let me talk to you in private, things that nobody else should hear. That's a red flag. Please don't ever tell anybody that I said this to you. This is a red flag. If you say this, something bad will happen to you. That's a red flag. Go and say it. Go and say it. All right? But it is important. Find a safe person, because there are many twisted human beings on this earth. Find a safe person. And if it is a person within an institution, I want to say that that is better than an individual human being. Just yesterday, we were talking with my boys, and we were saying, if you found yourself in town and you are lost, how do you get directions to where your matatus are or to where you're going? And we talked about the process, talking to a security guy. I'm not saying security guys are bad, or stopping a stranger in the street to say, Nioneshe Mwindi Bingu Street. What are the pros and cons? And that is a process that young people can also engage in. As you look at your need versus the person who should be providing or you think will provide, what are the pros and cons? Is this the safest person? Being aware that there is risk around you helps you have that conversation within yourself. At the age of 13, these conversations need to be triggered to happen if they are not already happening within yourself, where you say, yeah, I could talk to Collins, lakini anakaanga ni kama yuko na hasira, wacha nisiongee na Collins. Like, you talk to Dindi, but Dindi is, she might not understand, or she might understand. I could talk to the Sunday school teacher. And even those people that you then choose to talk to, listen to what they are saying. If they talk to you about privacy and secrecy and shrouding and masking things and do not tell any other person, don't let anybody know, those are red flags. Those are red flags. Stay away from that person or tell someone else about that person, right? If they came into your personal space, you went to talk to them, but then they came way too close to you to talk. Step back and then don't go there again. Those are red flags. Listen, look at those red flags, because it is, our president once said, safety starts with you. We can only protect, even as children, even as institutions, even as activists, we can only protect individuals so far. The individuals themselves also need to know that this road is a bit dark, this water is a bit muddy, it will not necessarily do me well what it is I am after. I hope I have answered your question. Sometimes Dindi says I go off in
Yeah.
parables. I go off in parables and I
Yes.
don't quite say. So I hope I
Mm,
was clear. Didi, was I
I
clear?
think
Yes,
you
you are
answered my
very clear.
question. Yes, you're clear. So, right, for those watching us on Facebook and YouTube, you can find us, and you can also ask your questions on Total News Facebook page and YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can ask your questions there, and Dindi and Rhoda will be able to answer your questions. Remember, this is a conversation that is continuing, and the conversation is about unmasking teenage pregnancies that have been alarming in the recent since COVID-19 pandemic started early this year. And let me go to the next issue, which is a pregnancy. Um, let me ask you. Let me look at defilement first. What in cases where probably a child is defiled and maybe they are not they have been defiled, but now they accepted initially, but now they changed tune and said maybe it wasn't true because of maybe they were threatened by the family members and all that. Indeed, is a maybe a doctor's evidence enough when prosecuting such a case? A doctor's report.
One thing that we need to know about defilement cases is that one of the key documents in a defilement case is a document known as a P3 form. A P3 form is a document a document whereby a doctor records exactly what when the survivor or victim go in for medical treatment, the doctor is able to record exactly what they have seen in terms of the injury that has been caused on the survivor. And then also the police officers also are supposed to fill in that P3 form. That P3 form is documentary evidence that is normally presented in court as the extent of the injury that has occurred on a survivor. Now, where a survivor or a child who has been defiled decides to well, maybe they've been threatened. Two things. One, if a survivor is ever threatened, either by the perpetrator's family, anybody who comes in to threaten the survivor or the victim, in order to cause them not to testify or to cause them to withdraw the case, number one, that child needs to report that to the police station that is carrying out the investigation. Why should they do that? Because then that record, then you can take that record, that's the OB number, and the statement, the statement that the survivor has written about the threat can then be presented in court. What will be the effect of that? The court will note that maybe the perpetrator has threatened the child and can take action. Maybe they can take away the bail or the bond and order for that perpetrator to spend the rest of their time in remand until the case is done. That means they take away that right that the perpetrator had. Yes, Collins?
Yes. I'm asking about this question because I know of a case where the perpetrator, the accused is the father, and the victim is a child. I think he's his child. So the case was reported. The P3 showed that the child was defiled. But now going back home, the child changed tune, and because of lack of a place where this child can be taken. She went back home with the mother, and the statements later on changed. Now, in that case, can a mother, as who is also a witness, be liable in a way,
Had the child
or can
testified?
any action be taken? Okay, the child initially, the doctor stated that from the evidence the doctor obtained and talking to the child when there was a cross examination, the child told the doctor that she was defiled by the father. And going back home, because there was no rescue center where this child would go and maybe be safe, uh, the child, now when officers from the children's department went back and asked the child about what happened, the child changed tune. And the child said she was told not to talk to anyone about it, that she should not say anything.
And you know, it's very unfortunate that is happened to that child. It's very, very unfortunate. But one thing that court and the magistrate, you'll probably hear them asking the child again, because most children cases are had in chambers or in camera. I would, I would, at, that's why I asked whether the child had already testified. If the child has already testified, that means the child's testimony has already been written down been recorded by the court, and therefore now they're proceeding on to other witnesses. The magistrate will probably be very, and the prosecutor actually will be very, very hesitant to actually, try and withdraw that. In fact, sexual offense cases are rarely withdrawn unless they come all the way from the office of the director of public prosecutions right here in Nairobi. It's very rare for cases to be withdrawn because of the sensitivity of that, especially where there has been an allegation of a threat. If as a child, child protection, as a child rights practitioner, you hear about that particular threat. If the child has told you, yes, I was threatened, or somebody else happens to tell you that child has been threatened, you get wind of the fact that that child has been threatened. You are allowed to actually inform the prosecutor about it. Inform the prosecutor about what is currently going on so that the prosecutor can raise it in court. If the father is out on bail or bond, then he will be taken back to remand to spend the rest of his time there until the case is completed. And that's because of interference. Interference is not allowed. We understand the complications and the challenges that there are when it comes to admitting children into rescue centers. But then I would also bring in the children officer, have the children officer also draft a report and have it submitted in court that this child is being threatened and this child needs to be taken away from this home. And then various places we can look for various ways where a child can be placed, even if it means being placed in a rescue center that is slightly farther away from where the child is. That is okay. The main point is to have that child in a safe place, because at home, if at home she is being threatened by the mom, any relative, the neighbors, then in that case action is to be taken. I would bring in the children officer to write a report. You as a child rights practitioner, as a children rights activist, I would write a report and submit it to the prosecutor, who then will raise it up in court. And yes, according to the Evidence Act, the testimony of a child is deemed to carry a lot of weight. A lot of weight. So at the very onset, the very onset of onset of giving of the P3 form, the evidence that is in the P3 form, and the testimony, that is enough to carry a lot of weight. But you also need to back it up. You need to back it up with a police report, a children rights activist report submitted to the prosecutor. Bring in the children officer, let him or her write a report and corroborate buff up the child's testimony. Let the child know that, you know what, it's not just your testimony alone. We hear you. You are being threatened, and we're doing everything to try and have you access justice. Justice must be served, and we come in to assist that child. Even
Also,
bringing in an actual lawyer
Right. Thank you.
is
Thank you.
also good.
Collins,
Yes.
allow me to just add to that
No.
and
Yes.
say that if I
Yes.
had a magic wand, if I could clap my hands and the lights come onto planet Earth, one of the things I would do is make sure that for all cases of defilement, whether by another child, whether by an adult, whether for a boy, whether for a girl, every case would be assigned a counselor. A counselor would be assigned to every case. Why? Because this child is taken by, either she goes by herself or by another adult to the police station, to the hospital, right? And they give their story. They recount their story. Then they go to court. And in court, this child has to face the accused person. And the accused person may even be allowed to ask questions to this child. And this child has so far retold the story twice, and the third time it is with questions. What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? And the accused person is out to make this person, the survivor, a liar. There needs to be a counselor in chambers. There needs to be a counselor where this child is able to talk in privacy, not with another adult listening in, perhaps with a threat in their eye, perhaps with a look that says, ukiongea hivyo, by the way, tutajua. There has got to be a place for this survivor to be able to feel safe and give the entire picture of what is happening around their life. In cases where the accused person is a close relative, like a father, then there's already a dysfunction in that home. And one of the two needs to not be there. The person who is taking this survivor to hospital, to court, to the police station, they need to receive psychoeducation. They need to be supported because the act that has happened has impacted on their lives as well. If if like the case you have given, the father has defiled the daughter and the mother is present, that act has impacted on the marriage. That has impacted on the family setup. And this woman needs support as well. Because does she stand with the bearer of authority if he's the breadwinner, or does she take all her kids, including this one, and face stigma? What happens there? There's need for counseling support. There's need for a child worker. There is need for all the players. When I said earlier on, it takes a village to protect a child and to raise a child. That entire village needs to come together. And I'm sure in that village, hapawezi kosa mtu mmoja who will be able to protect this child. And finally, I know from being working with Dindi for a long time that there are things called witness impact reports, right? And that means a person, even a counselor, is able to add add to the case for the benefit of the survivor, for the protection of the survivor before the court makes rulings or judgments. Didi, ruka hapo ndani uniambie.
Yes, you're doing well. You're doing well. Keep going. Judgments.
All right. All right. Thank you, Rhoda, for that. And then let me go back to Ndindi. What steps should a minor or their guardians take in cases where they are violated, or in cases where they are defiled? What steps should they take in order to maybe to find justice, probably in court or through diversion?
The first thing that the child, the survivor, or their guardians should do is, first of all, we have there are two very key institutions that they must visit. Number one, they must visit a medical facility within 72 hours of the act taking place. Why? Because because the doctors will then be able to take um, forensic samples of the injury and be able to and actually be able to also catch various be able to treat the child rather. They'll be able to be given prophylaxis. They'll be able to be given an anti-pregnancy pill. They'll be able to actually be assisted with things. Within the first 72 hours are the most crucial. In fact, I would encourage everyone to actually spread the message of the 72-hour rule, that within 72 hours, as soon as possible, as soon as you find out, rush that child to the hospital, to a medical facility. And then what
Do
happens
not
next?
wash the child.
Yes, thank you, Rhoda. Do not wash the child. Remove the clothes as they are. Don't put them in, those plastic bags, the ones that were banned. Don't put them in that because it sweats, and then the
Evidence.
evidence can be watered away. Put it in a paper, wrap it in a newspaper, and take and keep it safely, so that when you go to the hospital, you submit it to the doctors and also to the police, so that they can be able to do a forensic sample on that. That's number one, medical facility. If you're unable to get to a hospital, get to a clinic. There's always a clinic around us. And when you get there, go and speak to a specific, there's always, try and explain to them exactly what has happened, because most facilities have a special department whereby a doctor is able to actually refer you to it can be a gynecologist or the doctor that is able to handle such kind of an injury that has taken place, because it's not a normal injury. It's a very intrusive and very sensitive injury that has taken place. The second place they should go to is a police station. At the police station, they will write a statement. The police will take the child or the survivor's statement, and that will form part of the evidence that's produced in court. The police will also give that person the P3 form, which will be filled in by the police and also by the hospital, and that will be submitted by the prosecutors in court as evidence. That is very, very, very crucial. Those two institutions. Where another thing that Rhoda had actually mentioned is, if as a child you are scared, you're threatened, you do not know who to talk to your to your immediate guardian. If your immediate guardian is one whom you are unable to reach, you are scared to reach, or they are the perpetrator, keep going, go up to your aunties, go to the neighbor's house. As Rhoda said, bang on those doors and tell them what has happened. Tell them, come, I want to tell you something that happened to me, and I'm so embarrassed and I'm scared, and go and tell somebody. Tell your Sunday school teacher. Go to a person's house. Go to approach somebody and tell them what has happened. And that person, if you're listening, and a child has walked up to you and told you what has happened, please take action. Don't tell them, hey, italeta aibu kwa familia. No. Take that child to a hospital. Take that child to a police station, because that is taking them back to the place in which they were injured, in which they were defiled. That is the greatest form of atrocity that can happen, because you're being taken back. It's a form of trauma that Rhoda can tell us it takes a very, very long time to undo that kind of trauma. And then the child is not able to access justice. Is not able to access justice. So there's the hospital, the police. Tell another person. As Rhoda also said, you can also call the numbers 116, which is a childline number. It's a 24-hour emergency number. Call 116. Or call our police hotlines, which I believe is 999 or 112. I believe it's 999. Call them and tell them what has happened. Tell somebody. Those are the key institutions that you need to actually report to.
All right. All right, thank you, Ndindi. Now, Rhoda, let me now go to pregnancy. Yes, now you've been probably defiled, or you are underage and you find yourself pregnant after, of course, having sex. What do you probably advise teenagers or young girls to do when they find themselves pregnant at this time?
Thank you very much for that question, Collins. Um, ideally, ideally, all pregnancies need to get to term. So that means when I say ideally, is I know there are some complex cases out there that bring in a whole web of other complexities from that surround the life of this child girl. But ideally, all pregnancies should be assisted to get to term. So this girl, kindly, please go to an antenatal clinic. I would also want to say, tell your parents, ndio wakusaidie, but, different situations there, especially given that teenage pregnancies generally are not welcomed with as good news, but go to an antenatal clinic. Go and have your tests done. The pregnancy test, iron, be advised on nutrition, and how to take care of your body. Don't wait to the last minute. Don't wait to the last minute, because as it is, you're a teenager. That means your body may not be fully developed to handle a pregnancy. That means there could be structural damage. You're at risk of structural damage if you wait until the last minute, perhaps when you are in labor and you do not even know that that is labor because you just shut down everything. No, go to a clinic, go through that whole process, receive support. They might even help if you do find a good officer or a supportive hospital. You might get counseling there, and you might even get help to face your parents, right? And to face the father of the child and receive support. Do not bear the burden alone, because apart from punishing your body and therefore punishing the child, you are going to inflict wounds on yourself. Trauma, you will add to the trauma of it all, and you might not even survive what it is you do to yourself. Remember, it takes two to get a pregnancy. Do not carry the weight alone. It takes two to carry a pregnancy, and it takes a village to raise the teenager who's pregnant. So there are resources out there. You can go to a clinic that's not nearby if privacy, if there's stigma and you're afraid for yourself, all that. But go to an antenatal clinic nonetheless. Go find out what are the implications of what is going on within you. Learn. There are videos out there, study material, get stuff from the internet. There are textbooks. They learn all there is to learn about what's going on within you. Information is power. And do not let that the first thing you think about is an abortion. Do not think in those terms, because ideally, end of any life should be the last thing, if at all it needs to happen. There is adoption. It can be within the family, it can be outside of the family. There are options out there that will not harm your body further. Remember, we wish all of us a long life, and you will need this body to live that life with. So a pregnancy has already happened. Take care of your body. Take care of the child coming in.
Let me just
All
say
right.
this, Collins.
Uh,
Collins, just
yes.
on a light touch, on a light note, actually,
Yeah.
that I was talking to an elderly um, friend in her 60s, and she told me something interesting. She said that if you do check keenly, majority firstborns were not planned for. If you ask your parents carefully, so so whole okay, we shouldn't say it just happened. It just happened. Then Now you're the first of seven. Yes, but then you are the one who was okay. But then it should encourage the younger.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world, and you'd be surprised
Yeah.
how God just turns around. He God has a way that that one that you think was unplanned for. Those are the ones that actually really have a lot of impact in our societies. They become presidents and they become, goodness me, such
Yes.
powerful people on this earth. So abortion is not the final one. It's keep that child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ladies. I have five, I think 4 minutes to end this conversation, but
Yeah.
I still have two questions to both of you. The first one is now what activities should teenagers engage in order to avoid teenage pregnancy and all that? I'll give you 1 minute each, then we go to the last question. Let me begin with
I'll keep mine short. I'll keep mine
yes.
short. I want to say that that sexuality is just one aspect of a human being. You have like five other aspects. Grow them, grow them. Learn about money, study about money, study about assets, study about your career. Learn. You know how they say that the internet has brought evil? It also has brought a lot of good. It means that information is right at our fingertips. Listen to TED Talks, listen to the engage community, listen to inspirational speakers, go to church, grow your spirituality, grow it. There are so many other things apart from sexuality that happen. grow Grow physically. Ati, how do you want your body to look like? So what oils should you use? What exercise should you do? What can you do from inside the house? Now we have been given a time out of school, right, to learn academics, geography, maths, chemistry, blah 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 blah. Learn bakery, learn a new language, grow all your other aspects, and you'll be so amazed at the things you are capable of doing and the good you're capable of bringing into this earth. Grow all your other aspects. Learn indoor games,
Wow.
even.
Right.
Learn chess, learn
Mm.
something. Grow all your other parts. Short answer. I think I did very well.
You did. You took all the answers.
Right. Let's hear from Dindi. Yeah, it was short. And Dindi, tell us what do you think? What should girls do?
Ah,
Both
wow,
girls
Rhoda
and boys, of
has
course.
mentioned a lot of them. Basically, just to add, get to learn something new, learn a new skill. We are on the
Mm.
internet a lot. There are so many websites where you can learn a new skill. Learn like I want to learn about electrical wiring, so that whenever I need to fix something, the light, learn something new. Uh, when we get get a mentor, get mentors around you to actually work with you in this thing called life, because you're not an island. Reach out to your auntie and tell your auntie, can I just talk to you about a few things that are going on, and my mind is jumbled up with so many things. Reach out and talk to somebody, talk to older people whom and just listen to them. And then also for you, once you learn something, share that knowledge. You'd be surprised. Some of these big organizations, they they started when one person learned something and then they just began sharing it. You'll be surprised. You could start a movement. You could be the one who's paying your university bills for your parents based on the movements that you've started yourself. You are not there just there thinking about sex. They'll be listen, just from us adults, that will come in its time. For now, grow your skills, grow them. Yes.
All right. All right. All right. Is it the right time to reduce the sexual consent age? Because there was, I think, that proposal some time back, reducing the age of the age. I think the age of adult from 18 to 16. Let me begin with Lindy.
Oh my, an
Is it,
emphatic
is it
no.
the best thing to? Yes.
No, no. Maybe
No.
I am highly biased because I am a mother, and also because I was once a young girl. At 16, no. I think let's not rush things. Let's not rush the caterpillar. Let's not rush the butterfly.
Okay.
Yes. let us
All
at
right,
18,
all
there's a
right.
reason why at 18 the age of 18 was put there, so that our bodies are able to develop, so that we are mentally ready, physically ready, spiritually ready, that we are fully ready by the time we're crossing over to handle adult responsibilities. Keep it at 18.
Right. What do you think, Rhoda?
I think similarly, because sex comes with such consequences that
Mm.
if you are younger than 18, if you're not an adult, and the consequences are not just about pregnancy, and pregnancy is a big one. That's another human life. That's another
Mm.
human being that you're supposed to grow and nurture and help learn. So yeah, it comes with such consequences that I would say let the young people grow all their other aspects. Let them grow all their other aspects. Sexuality is just one. Is just one. Let's lower the age of access to university, perhaps, and say that if you're amazing like that, you can go to university at age 15. Let's talk
10.
about stuff like that. Let's leave the sexuality. It will come. It's a function of the body. It's a biological function to be managed and guided. So
Wow,
I say no.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. All right. It's a no. It's a no. So let me give you 30 seconds each to say your final remarks. Let me go back to Lindy. 30
Okay,
seconds.
30 seconds. Information, knowledge is power. It is. Get to know about yourself, get to know about your capabilities. Know that you have a no. You have the word no in your mouth. Know that you have the power to actually engage the way you want to be engaged. Don't ever let anybody guilt trip you or make you feel that you have to do something. No, you do not actually. What you can be able to do is say no and move at your own pace, and don't rush. Take it from us. Don't rush. Adulting it will come. It will smack you in the face with many responsibilities. Do not rush. Take your time. Teenagehood is beautiful.
Right.
Make
All
the
right.
most
All
of
right.
it. Yes, thank you. That's all.
Final remarks for me
All
would
right.
be I have two, at least two. One, um, I read somewhere that getting a child is like getting a full facial tattoo. You can't opt out. It is there. So, by the time you're making such decisions that could get you there, think long and hard. Think long and hard. Don't think long and hard. Two, information is power, just as Dindi has said. Dindi runs Legal Ease, that is there so that it can provide legal aid, legal advice, legal information. Log in, check her page, get legal information. I run Suruvi Home Care Services. We have a connection cafe every week. There are posters on my Facebook page. Learn how to take care of yourself. We talk about self-care all day, every day. Take care of yourself, grow your different dimensions. Learn. Information is power. Learn how to say no. Learn how to assert yourself. Learn how to stick to your boundaries. Learn all of these things. There's so much more to life than just our sexuality. And I'm not saying sexuality is a small thing. It is a big, awesome, pleasurable thing in its right time. In
The
its
right
right
time.
time. So
Yeah.
learn, grow, and access information. There's Legalese, there's Suruvi Home Care Services, and we are here. We are here to work with you. We are here to mentor you, to support you in your growth path. Just like Dindi has said, there's so much that you can become. You can even become a mentor to another person. Imagine
Mm.
that.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. You can
Mm.
change another life
Yes.
somewhere.
Yes.
So, yeah, those would have been my final remarks, but we can continue a little bit, I think.
Yes, I agree with you, Rhoda. So Ruby Home
Yes.
Care Services is available, and also Legal Ease Africa. Follow our pages and reach out. We're here. We're here to help. We're here to advise. We're here to grow with you.
Yes. Learn the skills that you need to maximize your time, to manage your emotions, to make decisions that you so that then you can care for yourself and for another person better. Final remarks.
All right, ladies, thank you very much for this amazing conversation. It has been amazing. I got lost a bit. My internet went off and came back, but I really appreciate you for the amazing conversation. I was um, I'm so happy to be enlightened by these two beautiful women, and I'm so delighted to have you today in this conversation. That was Andini Nganga, an advocate, child protection